So how do we write an equation for these right up here? What do we do? Let's start here. Bookworms Club. Charge $15 to join, and you pay $2.50 for each book borrowed. So what does that look like? Okay, so I got 15 plus 2.5 in. Where did that come from? Where's that 15 coming from? Let's start with that. The 15 to join, that's a one-time fee. That means it's not repeated. It means it's not going to be multiplied. Okay? For it to be multiplied, that means it repeats over and over again. The $2.50 is the cost for each book borrowed, yes? So that means every time I borrow a book, it's going to cost me $2.50. So that's why I got that repeat. Now, something it may be in your best interest to go ahead and get used to doing. So we're going to back up there. And if you'll write the one with the variable first, it'll make it a little easier for you a little later down the road. You just get used to that. It's not wrong the other way by any stretch of the imagination, but it'll make your life easier if you go ahead and get used to putting that variable first. All right. So what about Readerama? Don't everybody talk at once. Good. Plus 25. Now, just curious here. It tells us to use B to represent what? Number of books. Y'all used N for number, but easy enough to swap out. What about the Litwits? Ha ha ha, Litwits. Next plus now starting at 750. That's a little tricky, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So let's figure out our starting value on this one. If I join the Bookworms, but I don't check out any books, how much does that cost me? $15. That's my starting value. It costs me that whether I check out any books or not, right? So that's my starting value. Here on Litwits, what did it say I started at? $7.50. So that's going to be my one-time fee, my $7.50. That's what it's going to cost to join the Litwits whether I borrow any books or not. Okay? So this one, if I started at 15, what's the cost of the next book I check out? That'd be one book, right? So it's going to be $15 plus how much? $2.50. So it'll be $17.50 for my next book. That next book cost me $2.50 more, right? What about the next book? How much is it going to cost me? $2.50. What about the next one? Okay. So to find that, I take whatever value, whatever cost I have right now, and I add $2.50 to get the cost of my next one, right? So over here on my Litwits, the now plus 5, how much does each book cost? How much does each book cost? $5. There we go. So 5B plus 750. Take a hot mess with you. Do you see how that next now works at all? That next equals the one you're at now plus whatever that repeating cost is. That's always going to be that repeating cost over and over and over again. The fee is going to happen one time. The next equals now is just another way of writing a pattern. Just another way of writing a pattern. So number one, what's the value of B represent in your equation? So let's write the equation. So we got B equals 15 plus 250 times 9. He wants to know what the big B right here, what that stands for. Anybody? The little b we had over here stands for number of books. Okay, well, let's solve it first. Maybe that'll make it a little easier to figure out what we're doing. So that's the next thing it wants us to do, is to solve this. And solve is more in our wheelhouse. So we do 250 times 9, which is what? Okay, plus $15. Good. It's going to give me 2250. And then I add those. So B is going to equal 3750, right? If I write it correctly, it does. But what does that mean? Let's start off, that 9 we plugged in. We plugged that in for B, right? What did we say B was? The number of books borrowed, right? So we borrowed 9 books. What's 3750? There we go. It tells me how much 9 books cost. If I join the Bookworm Club to check out 9 books, it cost me $37.50. So B is the cost B is the cost of books from the Bookworm Club. Does that make a little more sense? That's what it's asking, what does it mean in context to the problem? So there, the answer is going to be the cost of checking out books. That's what it means. And guys, I'll tell you, your EOC, more than anything, it asks you to interpret answers. What does this mean? It asks you that a lot. What does it mean? What does it mean? Well, up here, we're finding our answer. It means the cost of checking out books from the Bookworms Club. What about over here? What do you think R is going to mean? Capital B is the cost of checking out books from the Bookworm Club. What's this capital R going to be? What about Readerama?
How much it's going to cost, maybe?
Good. The cost to check out books from the Readerama Club. What about this capital L over here?
How much it's going to cost?
Right. The cost from checking out books from the Litwit Club. That's all it's wanting you to see there, is the answers we're getting from these equations are going to be the cost of checking out books from individual clubs. All right. So on this one, it had us plug in 9 books. We got 3750. This one, it gives us our equation, but it wants us to equal an amount, and it wants us to figure out how many books we checked out. So we've got 39.95 equals 25 plus 1.15b. So there's the equation. There is the cost. And since we're using 25 plus 1.15b, we're talking about the Readerama Club, right? You guys see that? That's where that equation came from. So what we're doing is we're taking that and we're gonna solve. Remember, we always get rid of the constant first. The constant's the one without the variable. So which one of those we're getting rid of first? Which one's the constant? 25. We're trying to move it to the other side of the equal sign, so we're going to use the inverse operation.
Then subtract it.
Good. And you notice I'm lining up decimals there. It's $25. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have $14.95 equals 1.15b. Now, guys, a lot of you have trouble that you guys want to start sticking. You move the equal sign. It didn't move here. It just dropped straight down. I just ran out of room. But you guys want to flip things around and move things, and that's why you guys keep missing stuff solving equations. Don't do that.
I got 15
For B?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're trying to get rid of the coefficient. That's the number in front of B. And we're going to divide, right?
Yep.
Divide by 1.15. And we get B equals what? 13. So we solved, we said B equals 13. Going back to our original setup up here, what is B, the little b, lowercase b, what does it represent? Number of books we rented. So in this case, from the Litwitz Club, this person checked out how many books? 13 books. So this is the same kind of thing we've been doing. Now what we're doing is we're adding what's called context. We're adding what's called context. Everybody that wants that have a chance to get that down? All right. So, number 3, one reader joined the Litwitz Book Club. She spent a total of $82.50 on her membership. Write and solve an equation that tells how many books she read. Write a complete sentence to explain what this means in the context of the problem. Okay, so let's start off. We've got a total cost. We're talking about the Litwitz Club, right?
Yeah.
So if we go back and look at our Litwitz Club, that's the capital L here. And we said capital L was the total cost of checking out all the books, right? So we're looking at here, $82.50 is going to go with in the place of L. We're going to separate, or we're going to substitute those. That make sense?
Yes.
Good. So we got $82.50 equals, and then we're going to copy down the rest of our expression here. 5B plus $7.50. Does anybody have a question where any of those pieces came from? It told us we were using the Litwitz equation. It gave us a total amount, so that means we were plugging it in for capital L. And now it wants us to solve for B, because it wants to know how many books they rented, right?
Yep.
So, get rid of the constant first, and we use our inverse operation because we're wanting to go to the other side of the equal sign. So minus 750, minus 750. And I get 75 equals 5B.
Divide by 5B is what equals 15.
Good, divide by 5. I don't want to divide by the B because I'd get rid of that too. But then I get B equals 15, right?
Yep.
Let's do that in red so it's a little easier to see. Bless bless you. Now it asks us to tell us what it means. So in context of the problem there, we got B equals 15. What does that mean? Good. So she read 15 books. But we can tell more than that from the problem, can't we? She read 15 books, and it cost her how much? It cost her how much? $82.50. That's what it means in context. That's what all those letters, all those numbers, it's just, this is what we've been doing, now what does it mean? And as far as word problems go, this is one of the more useful things we do, because like I've said before, life is a word problem. That's the only kind life gives you. All right, for number 4. Take a second here. I want you to, and you're welcome to work with those around you if you'd like, if you need to move real quick, but we've got about 5 minutes. I want us to work on number 4 and have time to go over it. So let's take about 3 minutes and see if you guys can work through that one. If you want to work by yourself, you can. You want to move around and work with somebody, you can too. Just make sure you're actually working. On this one, we're doing bookworms, so you gotta make sure you use the bookworms equation, which is this one. Right, and that's cost, and we're looking for the amount, the number of books borrowed. Right. And it cost them how much? All right, so for number 4, you spent $50. That's going to be cost, and we're talking about the bookworms. So that's going to be the capital B. 50 equals, we go back to our bookworms equation, 250B plus 15. We get rid of the constant first, so subtract 15, subtract 15. We're gonna get 35 equals 250B. We divide by 250. And we get B equals how much? 14. Good. Now what does that mean in context? Good. That means she borrowed 14 books and it cost her $50.